What is unconsciousness, and what are its hallmarks? The unconscious state stems from an ignorance that's not known to exist by the one who's subject to it. You don't know what you don't know. It's not enough to understand the concept of unconsciousness to become conscious, but it can be instructive to know what characterizes it. With the right understanding of it, there can be an avoiding of the misapplication of spiritual practice to unfruitful ends, such as women and gold, as Ramakrishna Paramahansa put it. Spiritual practice that aims to glorify what's wrongly believed to be the self is motivated by wrong intention, and by virtue of its ineffectiveness in bringing liberation, must be rooted in wrong view. The outward practices could be identical, such as meditation and asanas and mudras. But wrong view and wrong intention serves the thing that in self-realization is no longer identified with. Conceptual knowledge, correct knowledge, can support right view and right intention, which are two parts of the Eightfold Path. In unconsciousness, belief in the illusion of self causes belief in the illusion of others. Someone once asked Ramana Maharshi how to treat others, and he replied, "There are no others." That sounds like something a spiritual person would say, and anyone could say it. But what was Ramana's experience of reality that would lead him to say this? Ramana Maharshi had a sudden sensation that he was dying at age 16. He felt that it was inevitable, and so he just surrendered to it and let himself go as if it was to be. But he was not in reality physically dying. But this process caused a realization that he was not the body. He noticed the non-self nature of all the peripheral things orbiting the identifier I. The physical form and all the thoughts and feelings that revolve around it are apart from the I. But he also realized the non-self nature of the I itself, in that there is something aware of it, and that awareness is not something that can appear in awareness. If fundamentally you are nothing but the awareness in which appears what you in unconsciousness wrongly take yourself to be, and what you wrongly take to be others, and assuming you don't take a solipsistic view that you are the only mind in the universe, then you will realize that what others take themselves to be is not what they are either. They are also the awareness in which appears everything that they wrongly take themselves to be, and that anything that could be said to be a quality, such as a physical characteristic, a personality trait, a worldview, a creed, a cultural expression, among everything else, does not differentiate one from the other in terms of what they fundamentally are. Hence, there are no others. I say this from experience and not from secondhand accounts, at the risk of ridicule, that there is a state of being apart from the ignorance of body identification that destroys the impetus to seek for gold and glory, even though they may still be encountered due to the unfolding of the world. A state where a peace that cannot be described radiates from the spiritual heart and through the whole form. I have been perpetually in this state for over 10 years while living as a worker bee. Life from this state reveals the connection between unconscious behavior and body identification. It lays bare the wrong views that lead seekers to spiritual cul-de-sacs. Any belief that makes you or your group special is a hindrance that renders impossible the peace that surpasses all understanding. The fear for that special self or for that special group will hide the love of which I speak, the unconditional love. The trap of this insularity is that there is still a feeling of love that appears conditionally upon the alignment of identifiers or beliefs. They feel love in the presence of their religious, racial, or ideological cohort, but they think there's something that makes these people or views special above everyone else. And so the insular practitioner seeks to convert, enslave, or destroy everyone but those who fall into his or her view or lineage. What I'm describing are views currently held by billions of people across various traditions. I'm going to link a video in the description that's fairly new. The information has been around for a while, though I never heard the story. It's made its way recently into YouTube, as far as I can tell. It's an account of a young Mexican pilot in training who is doing a training flight around an airport in eastern Mexico. Somehow his plane and body were used to serve alien forces. His body and his vocal cords were hijacked to speak some kind of transmission. His plane was moved by these forces in a short period of time and without using any fuel to a place on the western coast of Mexico, a few hundred miles away, beyond the fuel range of his aircraft. This is an impossible thing. There wasn't the fuel, and the pilot, given his low number of flight hours, didn't have the skill to navigate that path through mountains across Mexico. And here's the thing, just like I said in my last couple of videos, this could be some fabrication. It's so hard to tell nowadays. It's good to be suspicious of things that supposedly have been around for a while but just appeared out of nowhere on the internet recently, like AI photographs of giants and strange creatures and events. But assuming this really did happen, it's not just the physically impossible things happening that make this relevant, why I'm talking about it. It's the transmission that came through the young man himself to the control tower. There was about a 40-minute monologue that was lost, but those who heard it, and there are some surviving parts that were recorded, the young man being used like a microphone transmitted a message saying that there were otherworldly beings speaking through him. They lived light years from us, and that they are just like us. That intelligent life in the universe has the same blueprint. The key part of their message, however, was that we humans on Earth are going to destroy ourselves because we're violent. I'm not saying that this isn't some kind of hoax. I really don't know. But the message does ring true. Human history, and indeed the current state of the world, shows us to be unconscious and violent. But as I say in practically every video, I do believe it's possible for a person to transform spiritually into one who is not driven for gain at others' expense. But it's clear that thus far, based on our violent history and present circumstance, that we have not been able to transmit this information in a way that brings about the ubiquity of its aim. So if things continue as they have, the future looks very much like the past, violent, but with more destructive weapons, and probably the end of our species. However, given that the novel path of technological progress is changing the way that we are conditioned, if it is even possible for a piece of information to precipitate a worldwide shift in consciousness, then maybe we have yet to, and are perhaps about to, stumble upon that. But I'm not optimistic. Unconsciousness protects itself in that the circumstances that serve it are maintained by people who are trying to make permanent the impermanent through accumulation. The millionaires want to be billionaires and so forth. It never stops. And the way they get rich is by cultivating unconsciousness in the population to increase the marginal propensity to consume. Though they themselves are unconscious, they have discovered the levers to invert people spiritually, to make them into embodied, hungry ghosts. People are too caught up in their identities to ever see the world apart from the lens of conditioning that adds enemies to the field of view. That lens hides the depravity of our allies and amplifies that of our adversaries. But in unconsciousness, we are all the same, playing the same game with different jerseys and names. You are not special. Your people are not special. And to the extent that your view causes violence, your views are wrong. The unconsciousness of which the aliens supposedly spoke may very well destroy us. We as a species are not advancing in consciousness, though we're advancing in technology. And correspondingly, we are advancing in the efficiency with which we kill one another. And thus we will destroy ourselves.